This country is spectacular, isolated, unique, moody, otherworldly. And I want to explore these islands known as Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud, and experience the vibrancy of the Maori culture in its renaissance, which is why I've come to New Zealand. Virtually every mountain, lake, and river in this most beautiful of countries is attached to Maori oral history or legend. 100 years ago, the Maori faced the tragic prospect of dying out as a people as a result of European settlement. Today, that trend has been completely reversed, and the Maori way of doing things is flourishing. Now, the most powerful way to explore New Zealand is through Maori guides who add layers of history and spirituality to the awe-inspiring geography. Hokianga Harbour on the west coast of Northland, facing the Tasman Sea, is a place of wild beaches, spectacular sand dunes, forests full of giant, centuries-old kauri trees, and sites rich in Maori history. This may be where it all began. Maori tribes, or iwi, trace their ancestry back to the legendary explorer, Kupe. Koro Carmen, a young Maori tourism entrepreneur, believes the first landfall of Kupe's waka, or canoe, was on the shores of Hokianga Harbour.
1,000 years ago, Kupe, our ancestor, this country's first supposed discoverer, left the legendary land Hawaii, our legendary homeland, travelled the treacherous seas with his wife and family. Along the way, his wife named this country Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud, entered this dangerous harbour, called Hokianga his home. Then ultimately he returned home to tell others of this prosperous new land.
And that's a true story, though, about Kupe. I mean, it's felt to be true because it's been told so consistently. It's not a legend, it's a true story.
Oh, absolutely. I can connect to that story. That story is me. That story is Maori. This body of water connects all of the people who live in this area. And Hokianga is a large area made up of many little towns. And, well, this is like State Highway 1 of the past. Trading, battles, it all happened on that body of water.
You're a lucky guy, then, that you get to live here and work here. And
well, I think so, Valerie. I mean, you just have to look out there, you know. This is my office, basically. It's not a bad-looking office, Valerie.
Well, you get to show people around, too. But you're also telling them about your history and your culture. I mean, there's got to be huge pride in that.
You know, I could have been born into any other culture in the world, but, you know, fortunately enough, I was born into this little indigenous culture called Maori. So, you know, I've got to do my bit to keep it alive, and this is what we do here, basically. We tell stories about the area, and we are very proud, and we're proud to promote Māori. Ke te here o e he tangi nei, he wā wā taha taha ngaha mai, o ke anga hakapau kahara kea, o ke anga hakapau kahara kia. I stand listening to the many crying voices, yearning for this body of water. People today refer to it as the Hokianga Harbour. Its full name, however, is Hokianga Hakapau Karakia, the place of wasted prayers.
It's easy to see why Koro has such love for this land, but it's not all serious and historic. It's also joyous and playful. So Koro decides to take me across Hokianga Harbour for a little fun. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
So we've come to play.
We certainly have, and as you can see, there's a lot of whānau, a lot of family members up there, a lot of kids who want to come down that hill. So basically, you've got to get up there, Valerie, and show us your stuff.
Oh, look here, there's one kid going down. Good run. Can you teach me how to do it without the water part? Did you just have a birthday party last night?
I did.
How old?
17.
She's 70. You are awesome.
Thank you.
Is there a baby slope? A bunny slope?
No. If there is, this is it.
Okay. How many times have you done it? Tell the truth.
Only a few times.
Tell the truth.
Yeah, not at all.
Never. He's never done this before. Was this a traditional Maori experience I'm having?
Oh, of course.
Oh. All right. Ready?
Are we going down together?
No, because we'll probably hit each other, but you should go almost immediately.
Sorry.
Oh, she did it.
To the right.
I can hit it. Aw, honey.
Here I come, Valerie. Good luck, Val. Good luck, Val.
Oh, well, I'm not in the water. That's very fun. The most important historic site in New Zealand is Waitangi, overlooking the Bay of Islands on the east coast of the North Island. This is the birthplace of modern New Zealand. It was on this spot, February 6, 1840, that the Treaty of Waitangi was signed, and it was a great spectacle with 44 Maori chiefs and the British Crown and all their regalia. It's still open to interpretation, but it talked about giving this land peace and good order. And that's what you see around us here. I mean, this country became something unique, neither pure Maori or European, but something distinctively New Zealand, Kiwi. For the first time in the history of European colonization, the native people were approached by the English as partners. It's taken about 150 years since, though, for the Maori to be treated as true equals. This magnificent piece of sculpture is called Ngatoki Mata Wharoa. It is believed to be the largest waka, or canoe, ever built. It's almost 36 meters long, weighs 12 tons, but what a sight it is on the 6th of February, which is Waitangi Day, when they take it out into the Bay of Islands, and it takes 80 paddlers, 55 passengers, all handsome bare-chested men, and they paddle around, and it's just enormous. It'll take me a minute or so to get to the other end. You won't believe this. Halfway. Unbelievable. There's Kupe, the great navigator, with his paddle in hand to represent the focus and the direction. People all need a direction. And he sits on top of the ancestors. This is a wonderful building that was created, took 6 years to build to mark the centennial of the Treaty of Waitangi. And it was felt that it was necessary that there be some Maori representation here. Maori used to be a completely oral culture, so their language is crucial to their survival. It is now an official language of New Zealand, and half of Maori speakers are under the age of 25. Traditional dances and music are also important ways to keep the culture alive. The haka was originally used during battle. The stomping, slapping, and facial expressions were meant to intimidate the enemy, while the stuck-out tongue sent a message that you would be eaten if you lost the fight. These days, the haka is seen as a symbol of New Zealand, a unique national expression. Across the Bay of Islands from Waitangi is the quaint waterfront town of Russell. It was the original capital of New Zealand and has significance for both Maori and European history. Fern Jobbett is a local legend who's lived here most of her life.
Born and bred here in Russell, or originally it was called Rotorua, meaning sweet blue penguin. Beautiful.
It's not always we see it now.
Beautiful and quiet now, but in the early to mid 1800s, it was the hellhole of the Pacific.
That's someone described it that way, eh?
Well, there was all the sailors, whalers, convicts coming into this port, and from woe to go, there was, along the waterfront here, there was no less than 36 grog shops and 24 brothels. So for a sailor in those days, it was paradise.
What a beautiful place.
It's an Anglican church, Christ Church, and it was the oldest church in New Zealand, built between 1835 and 1836.
And the graveyard around it just adds to the wonderful sense of history with all these tombstones to read.
We have Maori chiefs, we have first European settlers.
Tell me about this man, obviously really important given the memorial.
His name was Tamati Wakanini, and he was a Ngāpuhi chief. He was a huge supporter of the British government, and he was one of the very first chiefs that actually signed the Treaty of Waitangi. On the 11th of March in 1845, we had the Battle of Rotorua here, and a couple of Maori chiefs and their warriors came into the township and started fighting with some British soldiers that were here. There's musket ball holes from 1845.
That are lovingly maintained, I'm sure, now, because it's a great part of the history. But it was the Maori chiefs who were protecting this building.
Exactly. They believe churches to be sacred, or what they call tapu. So they actually stationed a ring of warriors right around the church to protect it during the battle.
So you're pretty typical Kiwi, eh? What are you, part Scottish, Irish, Canadian?
Yes, Canadian,
English?
of course. English.
And Maori?
And Maori, yeah. But it's a Canadian that, that makes me half mad.
Wait, it's interesting to me that there are many mixed blood people here, but even if you're like 1/16 Maori, goes way back in your heritage, it figures very largely in your sense of self, that people feel Maori.
Oh, definitely. It's a spiritual thing. It's just part of you. You can't explain it. So it doesn't matter. As I say, very small piece of Maori in you, but you're always a Maori and always a Kiwi. You're a New Zealander, born and bred in this beautiful country, and the Maori part of it just makes it a bit more special. That's for sure.
If you've ever wondered what the Earth looked like when it was being formed, my guess it was something like this. The constant steam drifts and smell of sulfur let you know you've arrived in Rotorua, located in the middle of the North Island. This region is the center of New Zealand's active thermal wonders and the heartland of the Maori and Maori tourism. We're right on the Pacific Rim fault line, so it's on the Ring of Fire here, and the Earth's mantle is so thin that you get these weird, bubbling hot mud baths and boiling water and steaming geysers and trembling earth and active volcanoes. This is supposed to be the biggest boiling mud pool in the world, and it just keeps belching up these great clouds of sulfur. For more than 6 centuries, the descendants of the Te Arawa Iwi have made their home amid the stark natural beauty of this geothermal wonderland on the shores of Lake Rotorua. Tribal life and tradition are fiercely upheld in this Maori village called Whakarewa Rewa. It'll take me a while to get that down. Visitors immediately experience manakatanga, a welcoming warmth, proud spirit, and deep sense of history and connection to this extraordinary land. The famous Nanny Chris.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Nanny Chris is a Maori, local, who shows people around. This is Whakarewa village, is that right?
That's right.
I'm not very good at the pronunciation. You say it.
All right. Whakarewa.
Yeah, sounds better. But this is actually a Maori village now.
It is.
People live here, but it is also a way for you to show people who come and visit here how the Maori have lived in this extraordinary thermal area, this steaming cauldron.
Yes, there's 70 of us living here, 25 households. The oldest resident is 95 years of age. The youngest is 11 months old.
Well, nobody's living in the huts anymore.
No, no one lives in there, but I wasn't born and raised here. I married into the village, so I've lived here for 40-odd years. And in my childhood, that's how I lived with my great-grandmother, my brother and I. Those are only models. Our great-grannies was 5 times the size.
But it's interesting that you can look at something like that and think that's, you know, virtually Stone Age, and yet you have memories of this, of being in a house like that. This is Maori land, and it's one of the places where tourists are given the opportunity to see how modern Maori live. The Maori have a talent for adaptation and improvisation, and in this village you can experience how this is played out in their history and the balance they've found between the old ways and modern life. Beautiful carving on that house.
That's Tuhoro Matakaka, carved in 1909.
I love the fact that there's, you know, this antique television antenna stuck in the side of this beautiful Maori carving.
You can mix the old and the new together, not a problem. You don't have to chant at night, you just watch TV.
The Maori believe that all thermal activity is a gift from the gods of their homeland.
That's why we don't have it piped to our houses. We come to it.
You bathe in it, you heat your homes with
we
it.
cook in it. Like the old people said, you inherited this, look after it, use it, don't abuse it, there's another generation. Make sure it's there for them.
It's just steaming. I mean, that...
And when we bathe all together as Adam and Eve. There's no such thing as being ashamed of your body. We'll take a turn. We'll wash each other's children. And someone will wash your back, but you have to ask them. Even your own children. They won't touch you unless you ask them. Soap your back. It's lovely, get pampered.
You actually get used to the smell very quickly, too. I'm
Oh,
surprised.
look, love, I tell you what, it took me a good 6 months to get used to it, to even sleep properly.
Really?
I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to blow up at any time. Mom, guess where
Chris's
I'm
connection to this land is so strong that I am amazed to hear her asking the steam to move off some boiling bubbles so I can see them and watch it actually follow her.
This is every woman's dream. This is our village kitchen. We do have kitchens at home, but this is the best one of the lot.
What have you got here now you're carrying?
That's sweet corn.
So this is where you cook it?
This is where we cook it. Cook vegetables. Just drop it in there. It's over 100 degrees Celsius just under the surface here. It is pure, sterile mineral water. And it's over 50 feet deep.
What's here?
In there is our lunch.
Okay.
This is like a big pressure cooker. There we go.
But you've built this structure so that it just captures the steam from the
pool?
From the thermals in the pool?
All the
From
heat is
ground.
coming from in the ground, yes. Thank you, Marnie.
Lunch here is a traditional meal called a hangi, a meal cooked in an earth oven. Looks great.
The hangi should be eaten with the fingers.
The corn is the best. Many of the residents of Whakarewa village are traditional artisans, creating wood carvings, flax baskets, and green stone sculptures. There's also a tattoo shop where those deemed worthy can get a sacred Maori tattoo, or tamoko, depicting their life and their genealogy. Jason Phillips is an expert in Maori tattooing and in Maori instruments.
Yeah, well, with sacred things like what we're involved in, they choose the right person. It's not as if we go out and choose to play them. What we are doing is providing the breath for our instruments to sing again. So it is said that all our instruments have their own soul, have their own ways.
Let me ask you about the tattooing just briefly, because I mean, there is a significance to the placement of it, to what it is.
Yeah.
It isn't just, well, this is body art.
No, that's right. And just like I said before, you know, I don't just go and, you know, whip a design onto someone, because you have to have sort of more respect to what's going on. So what I'll do is find out the person's history, ask them what's important in their life, who's important in their life. Okay, our belief is that you're an individual, you get your own tattoo, your own tāmoko, with your own story.
Tomoko allows you to carry your ancestors and your heritage on your body for eternity.
Basically told their history, their rank in their tribe, their mother's genealogy, father's genealogy.
To Maori people, this is the utmost symbol of honor and respect.
And just not anyone could get done.
The big event in Whakarewa is the spectacular geyser, Pohutu, which holds the world's record for a 15-hour eruption. Most of them last about 15 minutes and occur up to 20 times a day.
That's one heck of a major pressure point behind us.
The geyser.
Pohutu on the left, Prince of Wales on the right. The Maoris, it's a spiritual world for them, it's a gift from the Creator. So the water's going up, like saying thank you.
Do you ever get scared living here?
I used to be terrified. I'll be honest with you, I was terrified. I thought I was living on a time bomb. Mother Earth is Mother Earth in anyone's language. Mankind comes from mother and mankind came from soil. So how you look after her is how she will look after you.
Lake Rotorua, like everything else here, was formed by a volcanic eruption. And one lovely thing to do is take a dinner cruise around the lake and visit the sacred Maori island of Makoia. I should introduce Charles Royal right now, who is Innovative Chef of the Year, King of the Universe, greatest cook ever in the New Zealand Army, apparently. And I think, the first chef of Maori descent to win, so many awards.
Yeah, that's right.
You're famous and a real entrepreneur. So what are we doing on the island?
Well, this afternoon we'll go through the bush and then we'll have a look at some of the plants that are endemic to New Zealand. And then we'll go down to Waikimi here, which is the hot pool, and we'll have some salmon smoked in horopito, which is the pepper tree, and a little bit of rewana bread, which is a Maori bread as well. I'd just like to welcome everybody to Makoia Island.
Charles is best known for mixing traditional Maori and contemporary Western and Eastern foods to create new recipes inspired by the land.
Just have a look at the first one. This is what we call the kawa, okay? And it's shaped like a heart and it's good for the heart. So the old people, they would use it as a tonic. They would dry it or they'd put it into boiling hot water. If a culture loses their food identity, it's near impossible to get back. And that's what was happening with Maori food. Everybody thought that Maori food was a hangi. They didn't have a look at what we use in the bush. If you're ever in the bush or the forest and you want to know if the plant is toxic or not, the best way to do it is to be able to rub it, put it on your armpit, and if you come up with a rash, then you know that it's toxic and you can't eat it.
How'd you learn all this stuff?
Just talking to old people. I had an uncle, my mother's brother, who would always use, we call it rongoa or medicine. Yeah. So what I'm doing now is creating a new style of cuisine as well. This one here is called the mātiti or the five finger because it's shaped like the hand. Okay, and this is high in carotene. It has a parsnip flavour. It's also good to smoke your food in. So if you're ever lost out in the bush, you know what to eat.
Should I rub it under my armpit first?
No, you don't need to do that one. Yeah.
It's good.
Would you like to try it? Yeah? This is what we call the horopito or the pepper tree. And it's hotter than chili.
I'll try.
And you only need just a little bite on your teeth, yeah. Has a delayed reaction.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
No reaction yet. Ooh, starting.
Yep. I won't eat too much.
Thermal
otherwise
pools.
you'll lose your taste buds for the day if you eat the whole leaf.
No, I don't want to do that because you're going to cook for us.
Yeah. An old Asian style of cooking, of smoking food, is wood chips, 3 parts wood chips. So if you had 3 cups of wood chips, 2 cups of raw rice and 1 cup of sugar. Now, the wood chips flavour the food, okay? The rice retains the heat and the sugar ignites the flame.
What kind of wood is it?
That's horopito, the pepper tree. Then we grab another piece of tin foil and we put it on top. We marinated our salmon in cutting or seaweed. That's how thick we've sliced it. Bang it straight onto a hot heat. Take 2 to 3 minutes. And you could do this at home. You could do it on the barbecue. It's nice and simple.
When did you get interested in cooking?
Oh, I won my first cooking competition when I was 6. From there, I joined the army at 15. Done my training in the army, did 10 years in the army, and then I left there.
What, peeling potatoes or?
Started peeling potatoes. This is toasted rewana bread. Rewana bread is made from potato water. This is a starter.
Thank you. Whoa. This looks fantastic. So what's your dream?
My dream.
Taking over the world of food in New Zealand. Make it all like Charles Royal kind of cooking.
Yep, for sure. For sure. Now you gotta let anybody else have it.
It's very delicious. The salmon is fabulous, but if you're going to explore Indigenous food, you've got to be adventurous, maybe even brave. So I'm on my way to the southern end of the North Island to test my fear factor. We're standing in the Makota stream, just behind Matt Paku's house in Masterton, in the Wairarapa region of New Zealand, with a handsome headlight, his son behind us. And we're gonna catch some eels. I can't think of anything more fun to do. You got lots of eels in there?
Yeah, there's quite a good catch in here. There's a few big ones too.
It's like anaconda.
All right.
Yeah, it's an attractive guy. He's strong though, eh?
Okay, do you want to see him swimming away? You have to be quick.
Yeah.
All right.
I think they're God's ugliest creature, Matt.
You haven't seen my mother-in-law.
So how long have you been fishing eels?
Commercially, since 1976. Prior to that, we've always caught them, since we were kids. And my children have been fishing with us since they were knee-high to a grasshopper and could hop in the creek and do what he's doing today.
So what do you do with the eels?
The eels, we catch them and then we process them. And that's just parfit in them, which is fillet in them. And then we dry them, brine them, and then they go in the smokehouse and packed, vacuum packed, fresh for restaurants.
So it's a great business for you.
Well, it has been. It's
And
been.
Headley's taking over?
He's taken over.
Yep.
The future is for them, is to carry it on. We've done it all our lives, and we just hope now we have to look at the farming of them and the sustainability of them. But we're trying to hold on to the natural way of smoking our eel and
The Maori
producing
way. So is it a Maori delicacy?
where it was just basically like bacon and eggs to us in the old days. It's now a real delicacy out there with a lot of people now, especially the traditional way we smoke eels.
So who taught you how to do this?
My uncles, my dad. Yes, it's just been a family thing. My son's the 5th generation here now in the Wairarapa. We originally come just further up the coast at Mahia, and my old people migrated down here with their canoes in the old days and landed here, and we end up with land here, and this is home. We're what you call tangata whenua. We're the people of the land here. Well, Valerie, here's this ugly eel that you're talking about. You come all this way.
So I've got to eat some eel.
You've got to eat some eel.
And what have you prepared here?
This is our straight smoked eel, just on with lemon dill, and this is our pate.
You make pate out of
Eel
eel?
pate.
Well, you're pretty fancy, aren't you?
And these are some crepes here.
Eel crepes?
Yeah.
Never had them before. All right, what do you recommend? Just some smoked eel here?
Well,
This is,
yeah.
it's a real delicacy. Smoked by you.
Smoked
And
by
Hadley?
Hadley and myself. And Mum.
Well, it's been a pleasure and an honor to be allowed into this, slice of heaven,
Oh, not a problem. You'll be back next week
if I'm lucky.
if you like the eel.
Mm-hmm. All Maori can trace their ancestry back to one of the 7 giant canoes, or waka, that migrated to Aotearoa from Polynesia around 1,000 years ago. So the waka holds enormous significance. Beautifully carved war canoes were a tremendous source of mana, or spirit, for a tribe. And to see one in full flight is an impressive sight. This is something I've been so looking forward to. We're going to go today, on this beautiful day, in a waka, a traditional Maori canoe, into Abel Tasman National Park, which is one of the most beautiful. It's the most popular in all of New Zealand. We're going with Glenn and Tanya Gribben, who run waka tours into Abel Tasman.
Kia ora, Valerie.
Kia ora. And you're Maori?
I'm Maori and a little bit of Irish in me as well. So
Now this is deadly.
It could be fun.
It'll be fabulous.
What we're going to do now is we're just going to introduce ourselves. I'll say, I'll talk in Maori, I'll translate for you. Nā pū te iwi, nā te hine te hapu.
One of the most charming and instructive examples of Maori connection to the land is the way they traditionally introduce themselves. They name their mountain, their river, their waka, their tribe, and lastly themselves.
And my marae is Tauhinare. And of course, my name is Glenn.
And my river is Maitai and my mountain is Mount Arthur. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Their ancestral and collective knowledge is their greatest treasure. My name is Valerie. I left the building in Canada. I'm so happy to be here with you and to take my first journey on a waka.
Okay, if I could ask everyone to grab a hoi, pick up a hoi, please, paddle. There's about 5 different movements we've got to learn. Ta baba! Taro! Tia wai! Ko te waka te matangi e toa. Toki hi, toki hi. Toki hi, toki hi. You ready to stop? Here we go. Tupawa! Hau toto. Ko tū hekana, ko rongo hekana, ko te naho o tū. What I'm going to do is ask Tangaroa, God of the sea, and Tawhiri Mātia, God of the wind, just to take it easy on us for the day. Au e ki, whano, whana, haumi e, hui e, taiki e. Kia ora, everyone.
Toki, 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 toki.
The waka, it's to us, it's not just a vessel to go on the water. It's part of our whānau, our family. It's just part of us, and the carvings depict us. Toki, toki. Okay, we might want to hear a song from Canada, I think, about now.
Kia ora, kia ora.
Kia ora, kia ora.
Kia ora, Canada.
Kia ora, Canada. Let's feel the waka glide.
It is so beautiful. So your ancestors came in one of these, Glenn?
Kia ora. Yes, they did, yeah. This waka here is a waka tete or waka tangata. It's a general purpose waka, and they're about this length. It's sort of your everyday family car. Okay? The other waka was a waka taua, Valerie, which was a war canoe, which was very tapu and very sacred. Pretty much when waka taua was on the water, it was only for one reason, and that was to shed blood. If we're just looking out right here, we have the famous icon for New Zealand, for this area, Tokonawa, Spit Apple Rock. Tanya and myself are still learning our te reo, our language. It's an ongoing thing. My mother and Tanya's mother were not encouraged to speak Māori when they were younger at school, so that generation sort of lost it. But now Our children, our three tamariki, they speak fluent Maori. We're a proud and powerful people, and we're getting that back now, so it's awesome.
Nelson is known as the sunniest city in New Zealand. On the town square where we are, there's a sculpture symposium going on here, sponsored by a local brewery. Nelson is also very much known as an arts and craftsy kind of town. It's got very high quality painters and potters and jewelers and weavers and fashion designers and carvers. Stefan Gilbert teaches a bone carving workshop to anyone interested in creating their own special memento. Noticed you're not Maori. I thought actually when I signed up for this that you'd be Maori, because it is such a traditional art form.
Yeah, I'm a Pākehā, I'm an immigrant. I came here in '96 and I was just very fascinated with Maori culture and bone carving, so I started taking it up as a passion, which I turned then into a lifestyle by offering those workshops and teaching people how to do it.
Stefan has two other students in his workshop today, Laura from the Netherlands and Yuki from Japan.
Have a look through some design ideas, pick the one that you like.
This is the koru. I love that. The Maori design, the sort of unfurled fern.
Exactly.
I think I like that one.
Yes. Here's a piece of bone. Just draw a circle on there in the size you like. Here's a comparison piece.
So what kind of bone are you using?
It's beef bone. It's happy New Zealand cows. Yes.
They carved whale There weren't bone. any cows here when the Maori arrived. They carved whale bone and even the bones of their ancestors, which seems a little grisly, but it was very respectful and powerful.
So every bone carver, we cut it out.
That's how good a drawer I am.
It will be great. We hold it here in the vise, and then you can cut it out.
After sketching my design onto the bone, I have to cut it out.
The more relaxed you are, the better it will go. Very good. Just relax a bit more. You're doing fine.
That was relaxed.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'm there. Come on. Come on.
There you are. Excellent.
Thank you, Stefan.
I'll show you the next step.
So next I need to round the edges with a power sander. Now, of course, this isn't exactly traditional. In the early days, the Maori made bone carving tools from local stones, like argillite, which they used for cutting and shaping, and pumice, which they used for sanding and smoothing. It's not quite circular.
Well, Valerie, we're just at the start. There's, of course, a lot more to happen. Sandpaper to get it perfect and so on. But it's a really good start. Now, if you want to end up like the one in the center there, then you should draw it similar to that one. Shall we do it like this here?
And this is a koru, it's called.
It's a koru, yes. A symbolism for the unfolding life and the birth of new life. So you basically follow this, but you want to go deeper and deeper till you're all the way through. Okay?
Yeah. It does sound like the dentist drill, doesn't it? I'm not very artistic or talented at arts and crafts, so taking all my concentration. So I'm partway done. That's cool. A little bit of paua shell makes it prettier, and when that's dry, the hard work begins.
Here we go.
So this is the big work now.
This is the big work. Keep smiling, keep going. With all the modern tools, it's all the handwork that makes the difference.
I'm already tired. It's been about a minute. After a couple of hours of sanding, my masterpiece is finally done.
Now, there's a tradition with bone carvings. First of all, you should pass it on to someone else at some stage in your life.
There is a specific Maori protocol to be followed. I have to wear my carving and pass my mana or spirit to it before I give it to someone else. It's not just an object. It has a soul.
So it's my pleasure today to pass it on to you. So here we go, Valerie. Very well done. Excellent. I think you can be proud of it.
This is so great. Thank you.
Very well done.
I'm really happy with this. I fly with my carving from Nelson to Kaikoura on the east coast of the South Island. The ocean here is so rich with sea life, it's called the Maritime Serengeti. Thomas Kahu is one of the owners of Whale Watch Kaikoura, which was the first Maori-owned whale watching company, a model for Maori business in New Zealand, and it's won all kinds of ecotourism awards all around the world. Now, it started by your dad and your uncles?
Yeah, that's correct.
Back in 87?
Yeah, back in 1987. The main reason for starting was really just to create an economic base for our people. They originally were railway workers, and the railways was moving out of town, so unemployment was going to get pretty high, and so they started whale watching.
It's given a future to so many people here. It's given life back to this community.
Yeah, I think the whales are the heart of Kaikoura. Our ancestor Pike here, in our legends.
The whale rider.
The whale rider. Yeah, he actually looked to the whale for rescue and rode upon the back of a whale to the New Zealand shores. And in our time of need, you know, when we first started and the economic climate was terrible, we did the same thing, turned to tourism. Instead of riding whales nowadays, we are shooting them with cameras, and people love it.
It is a stunningly beautiful morning. We've got good luck, we hope, for finding sperm whales. They're saying there's a bit of a swell out there, so I've got my anti-seasickness bracelets on. I took a pill, and we're going to see whale. Morning. Stopping every once in a while so they can stick a hydrophone under the water to see if they hear any sort of sounds from the whales, because they don't use radar, because that sort of damages the marine population. We're also just using our eyeballs to see if we see a spout. Of course, anybody who's ever gone whale watching knows there's no guarantee. So you just have to be patient and enjoy where you are and keep looking. Although we haven't spotted any whales yet, I'm happy to see an incredible wandering albatross soaring alongside the boat. I had no idea they can live 70 years and have a wingspan of almost 8 feet. No sign, no blows. It's pretty beautiful out here, though. Well, unfortunately, we didn't see anything this time around, but the company refunds 80% of your money if you don't have any sightings. And whales aren't the only game in town.
This place is a smorgasbord for marine mammals.
So look at these seals. This one's having a blast. He's just rolling and lolling around.
This is a male haul-out area. All the boys come ashore once they've finished fishing, and they'll spend the next few days here just soaking up the sun.
Are they friendly?
Not too friendly, unfortunately. You can't get too much closer than we are today. They do bite.
I mean, they smell bad.
Yeah, well, that's their first line of defence. The smell keeps you away, and the teeth are the second line.
All marine mammals in New Zealand are protected, and it is amazing to see these fur seals up close. They're very stinky and growly and all over the rocks, but I can't leave Kaikoura without catching at least one glimpse of a sperm whale. Now, sometimes you don't see a whale when you go by boat. They're way out at sea, but I'm determined to see Moby Dick while I'm here, so I'm going to go and look by helicopter. Sperm whales are the largest of the toothed whales. This area is a migratory path for about 60% of the world's whale population, but the sperm whales live here year-round because the waters offshore drop to over 1,000 meters deep, and they're full of whale food.
The whales hold a really significant part in our history. They are guardians over the smaller creatures within the ocean. Their place will always be held up in high regard by our culture, by Maori, across the nation. The Maoris who came to these islands called them Tiri Tiri Te Amoana, the
gift from the sea, and it's a gift they are more than happy to share to this day. For a visitor, the opportunities to learn from the Maori through ecotourism are unprecedented. What I've seen is that they are managing the very difficult trick of honoring the past, living fully in the present, and acting as guardians of this beautiful land for the future. And it's a wonderful way to see New Zealand. Kia mo mahara. I will treasure the memories.
We've come here all today, not as to partake in war, we've come in peace. So to seal that and to make sure we're all friends here, we do a hongi. And the hongi is the pressing of the forehead together and the noses. And basically in Māoridom, the head is very tapu, very sacred. So when we're pressing our foreheads together, it's the ultimate sign of respect. You're respecting me, I respect you.
Thank you.